Okay, continuing on. There's one thing I should say at this point, which is to not ever use live or frozen foods for your fry, with the exception of the first 2 weeks. You got to use the decapsulated baby brine shrimp, and you want to make sure that it has a guarantee in writing that it's sterile and completely free of parasites and infections and whatnot. And Hikari is the kind that I buy, and if they bothered to put the guarantee in writing on the package, it's probably legit, or else they probably would have been sued by now. So you want to only get the ones that have that guarantee in writing. Otherwise, you're going to end up, I mean, frozen and live foods are notorious for having parasites and diseases and bad bacteriums and protozoans and all kinds of problems that will get into your tank and will kill all of your fry. So you want to only use the kinds that have that in writing guarantee on the package, or you're in for a world of trouble. So that's another big tip that I can give you. So I think that's pretty much getting near what you need to know for beginners. I'll do a later series for advanced techniques on conditioning and stuff. I'll go ahead and give you one just awesome advanced technique that no one on earth ever did unless I showed it to them, because most of my techniques I came up with myself over years and years and years of trial and error and experimentation. So what you want to do is, when you're done, when one pair is done spawning, it takes everybody several weeks, generally 3 weeks or more, for their females to be ready to spawn again. And I can do it where all of my beta females spawn roughly every 7 days. And there's a lot of tricks to that. I'll cover a lot of them in the advanced breeding technique series. But one of them is group conditioning. And in a lot of my other videos, I had showed you how I do the group conditioning. And what you do is you take a tank like this, and you let one male run around freely in it, and you put lots and lots of females in dividers inside of it. So I showed them to you in other parts. I think it was in the first 1 and 2 of the during remodel and pre-remodel tour vids that I did of this hatchery room. By the way, I know I have 3 hatchery rooms, and I know I've only keep showing you guys room A over and over. There's a reason for that. I have like, for an example, a couple of drip systems that I invented. I've got a bunch of inventions that I invented for betas and beta breeding that I don't have a patent for yet. So I can't film in those rooms, because I would basically show somebody how to steal my invention, and then they can go and make the profit from it. So until I get the patents I need from some of the inventions in that room, I've been doing all the beta filming inside room A, and I'm sorry about that. I'm sure you guys are bored of seeing the same room, but there's not much I can do about it. I mean, some of those things that I invented are real big, like a drip system and stuff, so it'd be really hard to move it out to film in there. So it is what it is. Also, there's some really rare betas that I have in there that I don't want people to see, because I only have 1 or 2 of them. They're really rare. You know, people will want that one, and you know, they're only available once every 5 months, and it's just a pain in the ass. So I've been keeping the filming in room A. I'm sorry about that. Eventually I'll get footage of the other rooms, which are a lot nicer, and have the tank set up on shelves already from floor to ceiling. This room I've been working on trying to remodel and install these shelves from floor to ceiling, so that I can have just row after row of tanks, and instead of having 35 tanks in here, I can fit 100 with no problem. But until the remodel's done, it's kind of a mess in here, and it's only got a fraction of the tanks it should have. It's got like 30 something tanks in here, usually between 30 and 40 tanks in here, when it should be like 99. So oh yeah, the group conditioning. Okay, so you leave one free roaming male in there and have lots of females in there. and as soon as she's done spawning from her tank, you take her and drop her into the community conditioning, the group conditioning tank, and you want to leave her in there for a while. Excuse me, my dog's chewing on my air hose. Stop it. You want to leave her in there for a while, and then you want to give her like 3 or 4 days in there. And one of the biggest tricks to being able to breed over and over, faster and faster, and be able to get your females to be ripe and ready and breed every 7 days instead of every 3 weeks or more, is to never breed the same male and female together the second time around. You want to change partners every time, and that stimulates the ripening and stimulates the breeding responses faster. So by breeding the same pair, it may take them 3 weeks until they're ripe again and ready to go. By doing the group conditioning for part of the 7 days, and then swapping partners for the other part of the 7 days, pretty much within 7 days, if you know what you're doing. And like I said, I'll cover it in depth and I'll give you all the tips to it. There's a lot of tips to it, but that's 2 of the biggest ones, is to immediately take them from the minute they lay their last eggs, put them in the group conditioning tank with a whole bunch of other females and 1 free roaming male. You want to do that for like 3-4 days. Then you want to put them in with a completely different partner in a situation like this, and you want to give them like 3 more days to condition with a new partner. By switching partners to a new partner every time, the response, the ripening response, and the breeding stimulation is infinitely faster. So you basically, unless you've only got 1 pair and you don't really have a choice, you never want to breed the same pair over and over and over, one after the other. You want to change partners every time, and by doing that, you're so much better off. It's just ridiculous. So these guys have been changed every time. As soon as the female spawns, they're swapped for another partner. You give them a new mate and they'll ripen faster. The ripening response is infinitely quicker. It's really, really crazy how much of a difference it makes. But I don't like to wait 3 weeks when I can make my fish spawn every 7 days, so that's what I do. So those are some of the tricks that you should try, and like I said, I'll cover them in a lot more depth later so that you guys can really get it down. But like I said, I'm the most successful breeder of the highest quality beta genetics on the planet, and you might want to listen to what I have to say. And like I said, you want to completely ignore everything that you've seen on YouTube and everything that you read on a lot of those tutorials and websites and whatnot. It's all complete bullshit. Most of it is kids regurgitating and copying bad info that they were given somewhere else. I'm just walking around pointing at tanks so you don't have to stare at the same thing or at my dog the whole time. Hi, Booger. So I'm gonna wrap this up because it's getting near 9 minutes, but that should cover a lot, and it should shoot the shit and put a whole bunch of holes in all the other crap that you've seen, in particularly the breeding in glass tanks. You never want to do that. You always want to breed in plastic 5-gallon buckets. Like I said, not because they're cheaper and because I can't afford glass tanks. I've got over 2,000 of them. It's because it's the best. And like I said, over a decade of trial and error and experimenting to see what works best, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That is by far the way you want to go, and I've already told you like 20 different reasons why. The other huge tip is to never ever leave your males in there for that 3 days. And like I said, if any eggs are on the bottom and don't hatch, they weren't going to hatch anyway. But an egg laying on the bottom for 48 hours, like I said, none of them will fall out in the first 24. But an egg being on the bottom for 48 hours will never cause it not to hatch. If it didn't hatch, it had nothing to do with it being on the bottom. It was a bad egg. So that ought to help you guys a lot. And just by watching this series and tutorial, you already know about 100 times more than you ever did before from any of the bullshit on YouTube. And like I said, guys, if you have any questions or anything like that, you want to ask a real expert. Don't just go asking YouTube breeders. 99% of the guys selling betas on YouTubes are just some clown with 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 tanks in his apartment or in his garage or in his living room, and they don't know what they're doing. They're really bad breeders. of bad fish, and they're not the people you want to get advice from and not the people you want to buy from. So if you have problems or you need advice or you want to know what to do or whatever it is, breeding or disease identification and treatment, you want to ask an actual expert, and there's very few of them on the planet, and most of them aren't open to the public. So be very selective and picky on where you get your information and who you seek help from. And like I said, 99% of them on YouTube are garbage. They're not the place you want to go, not the place you want to buy betas, not the place you want to get help from. Okay? I hope that helps you guys. Like I said, you're 100 times better off by watching this than you were before. Let me know if there's any other questions, and I'll do a more in-depth advanced series for advanced techniques later. Thanks.